Folks, Andy from the Music Emporium.
It's Dan here.
Are you tired of us saying we're excited?
I'm not tired of saying it.
I am sort of tired of saying it, but I'm not tired of being excited the way that I am when we have stuff like this to talk about.
Correct. Yeah.
This collection of instruments may not have the volume that we've displayed in the last year or something, but I think I can speak confidently, and maybe for Dan when I say this is the most show-stopping collection that we've had so far, in the sense that these instruments are all very rare, all very iconic, in incredible condition, and examples of previously uncirculated, family-owned instruments. In short, the gold nuggets that everybody who's looking for vintage instruments would like to find.
Totally. Yeah, it's like, where do you start? Without question, the cleanest late 50s Gibson I've ever seen in my life. One owner instrument, purchased early in 1960 in North Providence, Rhode Island. Just a phenomenal example of one of the earliest cherry red stereo Veritone 345s that Gibson put out. It's got a lot of the hallmark specs of that late 50s early semi-hollow design. Long pickguard, black bonnet knobs, and the dead giveaway for its age is this black Veritone switch plate here. But a great example, just in superb shape. There's not even lacquer checking on the guitar. I mean, how does that happen? This is a total time capsule of an instrument. Very clean, sounds great, original PAFs in the guitar. The original stone case. The original owner also was very proud of this instrument. Babied it, cleaned it after every time it came out of the case. And it shows. It's just fantastic. It doesn't get any better than this, folks.
Yeah, it's just sort of amazing to see such an iconic model with so many features that everybody wants to see preserved and intact, actually kept the way that you would want it to be. It just doesn't happen all that often.
Right. Just a remarkable piece.
On the subject of iconic Gibson guitars, to echo many of the things that Dan just said about the 345, we have never had a J-200 anywhere close to this kind of condition before. It's a 1952 SJ-200, completely untouched, all original, hang tags with the matching serial number, original case, whatever you want to say, it's here. Untouched, unmolested, nothing ever done to it, period. This guitar is part of a pair, along with the other acoustic that we'll get to in a moment, that we acquired from local South Shore resident here in Massachusetts. Her father owned both of the guitars. Same kind of concept as the 345 we're just talking about. Pride of ownership is why this guitar looks the way it does. It was played. He was actually a local singer-songwriter of some repute in the 60s and 70s. There's a little bit of wear on the neck in your kind of cowboy chord first position. The guitar was played. He just kind of wiped it down with a cloth diaper, put it in the case, and stored it away after every use. He did pass away a couple decades ago, so the guitar has been sitting around unused for that period of time. But before then, it was a regular gigging guitar and a songwriter's tool kind of guitar. Sounds incredible. We've had a couple of J-200s come through in the last few years, but this one has, I don't know, a power and a shimmer about it that I haven't heard in any of the other ones. It just has that classic sound, if you're into the Petty, the George Harrison kind of stuff. This is like, encyclopedia tone right here.
Yeah, and the one thing about it too is, like, anybody who's familiar with J-200 sound, of course, that big kind of chunky, low mid-range thump and growl that great big body Gibsons have, it's definitely got it. But it's got some real great clarity up top. Like, it does. A little bit more shimmery than you'd expect a guitar of this size and style to sound like.
Based on the burst and a couple other features, I'm pretty confident this is a 33. Nick Lucas, 14 fret to the body, rosewood, Brazilian rosewood back and side. We've never had another one of these in the store, period. 14 fret rosewood Nick Lucas, definitely the rarest iteration of the model, which was produced 12 frets to the body, 13 frets to the body, and 14 frets to the body with mahogany, with maple, and rarely with Brazilian rosewood back and sides. This one was owned by the same musician, not quite in the same sort of like untouched, all original condition. As we understand it, he's the second owner of this guitar, acquired it used in probably the early 1940s, as best we can tell. Has some old overspray on it, replaced tuners, but it's all of that stuff with this guitar. To me, I sort of forget about it right away because it's a 14 fret rosewood Nick Lucas, and you just never see them.
Right.
Period. We've never had another one, and it's really, really cool to see something like this, just regardless of the condition. It's one of those guitars that, to me, like, as long as it's set up and nobody's severely butchered it and it's playable, that's all you need. And it does happen to sound pretty extraordinary. We have a great demo, which we will link in the description below. I'm pretty confident that I speak for all of us here when I say definitely one of the most incredible sounding guitars that we've ever had in the store.
It's a tremendous sounding guitar. It really is.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, I'm not going to go in too deep into the nerd history of why Nick Lucases are special guitars, but the body is deeper. I don't know if this is reading on camera necessarily, and I don't have like an LOO something here to kind of compare to, but the body is deeper than other Gibson flat tops that were produced at the time. And the combination of the deep body depth and the rosewood back and sides, this guitar doesn't really sound like other Gibsons that you might be familiar with, and that'll come through in the demo. It's got a tremendous amount of sparkle, a very particular kind of thunk happening in the low mids that when we were listening back, I was like, it almost sounds like a Dreadnought. It has like kind of like a D28 thing almost happening in the low mids. So for a Gibson flat top, a very, very interesting and, you know, peculiar sounding one, but in a good way.
Yeah. That's awesome. Man, you know, these guitars don't come through very often. In terms of kind of golden era Gibson electrics, the production level was relatively small compared to Les Pauls, SGs, 335s, and the like, but still an equally impressive and, on its own kind of sonic merits, a very unique sounding guitar of the time. This is a beautiful early 1964 Gibson Firebird III in the original sunburst finish, a pair of original Gibson Firebird pickups, all original hardware, completely stock throughout. Even this severely shrunken Firebird pickguard is holding on for dear life, but it's on there. And an exquisite example of one of these, probably built within the first 6 to 8 months after this model was released in 1963. So great early example, no breaks, no repairs, nothing changed, nothing wrong with the guitar. It's got the really cool kind of early feature banjo tuners, and very lightweight for a large body, neck through construction. It's under 8 pounds, feels really well balanced for such an interesting and kind of shapely guitar. It doesn't feel as awkward to play as you might think it does when looking at it, but it's a really cool guitar. Again, it doesn't really sound much like anything else. You know, listen to a guy like Johnny Winter play one of these and you get a sense of the kind of top end bite and snarl these guitars have, and they have a little bit more of a focus quality to them than, say, the richness and depth of tone that a full-size humbucker would get. And they're even different than mini humbuckers to a degree.
Right.
So a really unique sound, one of the very few kind of successful, you know, neck through body designs of any golden era, you know, vintage electric guitar. It's really kind of set the standard for that style. Oh boy. A completely remarkable instrument, full of transitional features, very rare. This is a 1959 Fender Stratocaster in the original blonde finish, as some vintage Fender fans and enthusiasts may know, if you're getting a blonde Fender from this period, you're getting an ash body, which is the only exception to the rule here. Every other finish or color at this period in time for Fender, it would have been alder. So this is one of those kind of rare moments where you're bridging the gap between the early kind of first year ash-bodied Strats from 54, 55 with a little bit more of the later stylings and kind of sonic properties of a late 50s and getting into early 60s Strat. So a unique piece at that. And again, marking kind of a transitional moment here for Fender, where this was built early enough in 1959 where they're still using a single ply white pickguard, which they moved on to a 3-ply guard a few months after this guitar was built. There's also a first-year slab rosewood fingerboard, beautiful Brazilian rosewood, over a really nicely, kind of moderately flamed bird's eye maple neck. We were joking when we kind of first took this guitar in and taking it apart to authenticate it. When we remove the pickguard, you're kind of expecting that UV exposure, the light fading of the finish, and to get that kind of tan line thing happening. Pull the guard off, the blonde is completely consistent all the way through,
yep.
Which shows you it just didn't spend a lot of time outside of its case. It really does show. It also, I think, lived with its original ashtray bridge cover on the entire time, because the bridge and saddles look new old stock. I mean, this guitar couldn't get any cleaner if you tried.
Demo for that one is also in the description, guys. If you want to just pop on down there and actually hear what it sounds, Kevin Barry is playing that one too, so you know it's going to be good. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please slap that like button, give it a little slap, slap, slapperoo. Subscribe to the channel if you're digging this content. Any questions about these guitars? We're easy to find. Contact us via the link in the description. Surf on over to the website and check any of these out. And until next time, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.